date today is November 4th, 1960. The group gathered here this evening has presented a number of questions. These questions are not necessarily related to one another. We ask if we may present the questions one at a time, and if we may now present the first question. The first question is a two-part question. The background of the question is this. 3 of the persons here present have requested that an experiment be performed having to do with a number that is sealed in an envelope and that is in the possession of a 4th individual who is not present here in the room. The conductor has tried to explain that this type of experiment or test is usually not acceptable. The two-part question is this. 1, can this test be done at this time? 2, if not, why not? Is that clear?
Matter. Physical body having difficulty with breathing, like following through space at tremendous speed again.
Please give a suggestion to the conductor as to how to help with this situation. Should a return to the conscious level be made in a second attempt to rid of the samadhi state? Then, well,
No waste of time, just a moment.
please indicate when you're ready. Did that indicate that we can now start the questioning?
Mm-hmm.
It would be helpful to the conductor if a brief explanation would be given of the cause of the difficulty this evening.
The head area was disturbed, shaking the patterns all up, plunging the
All right.
body back again.
That was the conductor's fault.
Mm-hmm.
May we now continue with the questions?
Mm-hmm.
The first question is a two-part question. 3 individuals here present in the room would be interested in having an experiment performed, an experiment of this type. A number has been written, or rather placed, in an envelope. The envelope is in the possession of a 4th individual who is not present here in the room. The conductor feels that this type of test or experiment would be refused, as has happened before, but nevertheless wishes to ask this question. Should the experiment be done at this time? And secondly, if the answer is no, why? Explain why. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm. Is most tiresome to explain the reasons why such are not engaged in any longer. Sufficient time has been given to this. give location of entity.
2659 Woodley Road, Northwest, Washington, D.C. is the address of the entity who holds the envelope with the number in it. Is that the address requested?
Mm-hmm. Anyone in that building? 2, 6, 5.
Is there further information in answer to this question? Was the question directed to the conductor?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone in the building the conductor doesn't know?
The name's on the card.
We have here a name, Tom Donahue, who is located at the address given. Is that the information desired?
Mm-hmm. That is all right. In the meantime, we have approached what appears to be a mantle whereon the paper has been placed. Feel very strongly. 3, 1. Oh, not sure of order. Feel that O or 0 is separated. Does not go along in equal spacing or proportion to formation of other numbers. Also feeling of very small, approximately 3/8" parallel lines separated. Do not know if this is pattern or border on paper. Feel that it is same. That is all that comes through clearly without great effort. That is all.
Thank you. Shall we go on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
When the body is being re-chemicalized, in order to become more sensitive, is there a noticeable physical change, noticeable outward physical change?
Repeat.
When the body is being re-chemicalized in order to become more sensitive, is there a noticeable outward physical change?
Generally or specifically?
We don't know what that should be generally or specifically.
The answer is yes. The problem lies in the ability of the questionnaire to detect such manifestation, even if known to already exist, requires a sensitivity of its own to detect same outward change, except with assistance from instruments gauged finely enough to measure such change or alteration in the electrical potential increase of the physical body, the accelerated magnetic field patterns of same body, which correspondingly step up activity in all areas of the physical body, creating change in color, noted particularly in extremities, in eyes, in particular cell types, also change in circulatory behavior and corresponding respiratory effects and characteristics, many other more subtle changes in areas not as prominent as those given. And that is all.
Thank you. May we go on to the next question?
Mhm.
Regarding Alan Watts' book, The Way of Zen, can anything be given concerning the soundness of its description of the nature of being and its delineation of this particular path to the understanding of it?
There are better references to the understanding of Zen than that one given. However, it is an attempt through experience to define the soundness of Zen, but it misses its mark. The fallacy is not altogether the fault or error of the author, but in choosing words that adequately express the non-communicative basis of Zen, and for that matter of all the philosophies. Highest goal or achievement. There are many fine points of introduction to Zen principles. Difficult for a beginner to see through, to get the meat or seed of the thought or idea conveyed in abstraction without first having some comprehension of identity with the all, preferably through experience, not through hearsay. That is all.
What are better books in approaching this?
The master who speaks easily to the pupil, Suzuki.
Is that all?
Mm-hmm.
The next few questions will be delivered by another conductor.
Is the top one next, or is that the one you asked? Sure. May we now proceed to the next question? Can you give us any instruction on projecting ourselves in order to give absent healing? Is the question clear?
important here to say it is not necessary to project the self. That is, understanding this term as an extension of one's astral body. Thought itself is sufficient to accomplish this purpose if it is intensified, increased in power, and released with strong direction to the recipient, the target as it were. The thought, carefully framed to meet the need or the purpose, concentrated upon, emphasized in importance, increased in intensity, and particularly when for healing purposes to be surrounded or charged with white light or with a color conducive to the healing of a particular area were such color known. The thought on a background of color beneficial to a particular need, built up in the mind and sent forth, is all that is necessary. That is all.
Thank you. The next question is this. The conductor feels in part that it has been answered. The question is this. In psychic healing, is the best method when laying on hands to call on spirit guides for healing?
The best method is that which works for the worker. It is not necessary to call on spirit guides. It is an automatic that one calls on the highest source available to meet the need of that time. That is all.
Thank you. May we now go on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
The next question is regarding a book, The Supreme Identity by Alan Watts. Can you say anything of the soundness of its chapter, The Problem of Evil?
With a need for a special understanding based on Zen principles. Sound, yes, but disconcerting to one who would not be acquainted with yin and yang, with the God all in all concepts, with particularly a concept of polarity necessary for balance. With these tools, one can reapproach this chapter and gain much more. That is all.
The next question is this. Much is said concerning the basic laws of nature. Would you please briefly give 4 or 5 of these basic laws?
We have just mentioned one of these, that of polarity and balance on all planes, physical, mental, and spiritual, that of cause and effect, that of supply and demand, or better known as the law of abundance, the law of love to sustain life itself, which again incorporates attraction, associating it with polarity, these are the most important and all-embracing. That is so.
The next questioner has a 2-part question. The questions are these. What is fire and what is water?
We know these 2 elements by their sight, by their proximity in experience, by the ability of fire to warm, to transmute, to destroy, by the ability of water to contribute to growth, to in fact contribute to the creation of life, and its ability to destroy same. Always balance playing a most important part in one's understanding of any subject, be it physical, mental, or spiritual. Symbolically, fire is universally recognized as purification, the melting pot of spirit, where all is refined to highest essence, and the dross is swept away. It is also a symbol of a test to be overcome. Symbolically, to walk through the fire of any given challenge and emerge unscarred, richer for the experience. Water symbolically is associated with life through its necessity in all living physical form. Without water, there would be no physical plane possible. In the mental plane, it is the carrier symbol of the flow of mind and consciousness. That is all.
Would you please furnish us a description of what lapis lingua is, also lapis lazuli? Lazuli.
First, the lapis lingua so termed geologically because of reference and legend to the stone that talks, or more poetically, sings because of its high rate of vibration, its physical and auric emanations of the spiritual tones of blue, vibrations in the spiritual range of influence, cherished for this particular quality, its richness in the mineral azurite for many centuries by those understanding the language of the stones, their place in the evolutionary realm of matter. In the lapis lazuli, here we find a particular reverence of this deeper toned, mineral laden gemstone by the ancient Egyptians. This lazuli being plentiful in the northeast section of Egypt and being traded at high value in those times. The lower vibrations, even though still on a high scale by comparison with other gemstones, makes it second to the lapis lingua for meditative or spiritual connotation purposes. Much more can be given on both of these that will suffice for the time. That is all.
The next question will be read by the conductor, and then the conductor would like to reword the question. As the questioner sent it in, it is this: does cigarette smoking cause lung cancer? And to this, the conductor would like to reword it: does smoking of any type cause or contribute to lung cancer?
That it has the potential to set up conditions necessary to foster cancerous growth cannot be denied. At the same time, it is not a certain effect following the use of nicotine. Much depends upon the inherent or general physical condition of the one introducing this into the physical body system. The effect, generally, of nicotine upon the lungs is to slow, in marked degrees, the vibration of the hair-like particles in the lungs that throw off the waste, the toxins. These, normally uninhibited, vibrate at tremendous rates of speed, keeping the lungs clear of impurities. The nicotine slows down the action of these hair-like fibers, assisting the lungs to collect and hold waste materials, toxins, impeding normal cell function, which puts strain on the nucleus of certain type cells, causes them to burst, break apart, divide, and this pattern is set up and reverberated, giving the multiplication of cell pattern, which creates a tumor, which becomes malignant and gives the lung cancer problem. A healthy physical body, on the other hand, one not inclined to toxicity, one which compensates in other ways through vital physical exercise, deep breathing, will not be as prone to lung cancer or the conditions necessary to promote same. That is all.
Thank you. May we now go on to the next question? The next question is this: does Crest toothpaste really help stop decay?
No such preparation really helps this condition. It is merely a process of cleansing that helps rid the surface of materials that would tend to attract or collect bacteria of a type that would attack not only food particles, but the life of the tooth itself for its needs. The food chosen can act as the cleanser. Pure water can act as the cleanser, so long as there is an action, natural through the food and water, or artificial through attention to any cleansing process, the life of the teeth will be prolonged. That is all.
Thank you. May we now go on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
It has been stated in Samadhi that acid foods cooked in aluminum form an amount of aluminum hydroxide, which is said to be not to be good for the human body. How can this be proven scientifically, both the presence of the hydroxide and its harmfulness?
This can be and has been demonstrated in private laboratory. The results have been suppressed as a threat to large commercial interests. It can be demonstrated by actual preparation of heavy acid concentration food in aluminum, followed through with chemical breakdown of same, applied to live cell tissue, also blood cells, and the results are self-evident. This can be repeated as an actual experiment by those interested. Detailed experiment outline given later. That is all.
Thank you. The next question is this. Can you tell us what to do for sinus trouble?
This would depend upon the entity involved. That is all.
In connection with that question, the use of a preparation known as honey caps has been the honey of the comb of the honey has been suggested for use for sinus trouble. Is this a good idea?
Yes, this has merit. So does paraffin and chicle. That is so.
Thank you. May we now go on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
The next question is this. Would you describe the pituitary gland and give the symptoms of its malfunctioning?
Any pituitary gland general description at maturity approximately size of end of small little finger, grayish in appearance with anterior and posterior lobes, bisected, intricate little channeling, appears like shaped like a closed dandelion flower, umbrella-like top, small bulb bottom, with separation between the posterior and anterior sections. The nerves from this leading down through the main nerve trunk, controlling, influencing growth, elimination, reproduction, all the vital functions of the physical body. Symptoms of malfunctioning may appear in any one of these areas. A distortion in the physical growth pattern itself, even to an over sinus activity may be indicative of pituitary imbalance. Later in the normal physical body development, lack of certain enzyme supply from pituitary will show up in reproductive imbalance, overactive kidney, inclination to uremia, may find root cause in pituitary. Affectation of optical nerve may indicate diseased pituitary. The main chemical laboratory of the entire physical body is located in this gland center. Therefore, many symptoms would directly or indirectly lead to analysis or checkup pituitary condition. That is
Thank you. May we now go on to the next question? The next question is this. Edgar Casey said that sometime in this century, great changes would take place in the topography of this planet. Does this still hold true? Yes.
This is prophecy. of present, come, and future to come. That is so.
How many planets are there inside the sun, and how do they affect sunspots? Is the question clear?
Mhm. Has been said there are 12, can find no absolute verification of this, therefore no correlation of sunspot activity. Cannot find. Absolute on this, nor can approach. Same at this time, that is all.
Are the asteroids a remnant of an old planet, the birthplace of new planets, or both? Both.
Magnificent laws of magnetics. Seen here, a separate study in itself. That is all.
Is there a general pattern from incarnation to incarnation of astrological sun sign under which people are born?
No general pattern. Must depend upon circumstance of the entity in question, in progress or evolution. That is so.
We have one more question. Are the general astrological symbologies of the planets modified? That is, have different shades of meaning for various positions of the satellites of the planets with respect to the planets themselves. Is the question clear?
A question not clear. Find too many answers attracted to question.
We will look into that question later. May we ask another question at this time?
Mhm.
What contributes to the degeneration of muscles?
Body is a spirit-endowed machine meant to have moving parts. Lack of motion or use is one of these. Impaired or diseased nerve failing to release or cause the release of the chemical necessary to activate the muscle is another of these. Lack of certain elements in the muscle tissue itself, furnished through the blood supply, is another of these. That is so.
May we ask another question at this time? This question relates to an earlier question given. Is there a growth-encouraging hormone that can be given for malfunctioning of the pituitary gland?
Yes, promising results obtained from hormone extraction of horse pituitary. Knowledge of this available at Hopkins. That is all.
We thank you for the information given. Before we have no further questions. Before we close the session, we would like to ask if there is any further information to be given, which would be of general interest to the group at this time. Is there any further information at this time?
That is all.
Thank you. Please then prepare to return to the conscious state. Take several deep breaths to replenish the oxygen supply in your system if it is necessary. And return to the conscious state whenever you are ready. Follow the usual procedure and return to the conscious state whenever you are ready.